Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And peace and mercy to the hopeful elect, the 144,000 men that are doing this work in sincerity and in truth around the four corners of the earth. And much love to the 130, you believers, you men, women, and children of the household of faith. To you all, I say Shalom. I'm the brother Yeshaya, and I pray, Lord willing, that this lesson is edifying to the spirit. All right. I was intending to do this last night, but I'm doing it early morning. Time kind of got away from me, and I had to do a little bit more research too. But so a brother shared this, and I thought I'd follow up. Right. This is going to be like it looks like a tweet, I suppose, from a lady named Rebecca Jones, and her thumbnail is Geo Rebecca. Okay, it's irony, right? Rebecca in the scriptures, but she listed some things here. I'm probably just going to put. I don't know if I'm going to put the picture yet because some of these words I don't want to get it flagged or banned. Um, so I might have to cross some of these out, and maybe I'll do it like that. We'll see, Lord willing. But and this basically this what she's showing, excuse me, is everything that we try to tell the world about Esau Edom. All right. And by Esau Edom, I'm referring to the so-called white nation. Now, as a disclaimer, we always have to say this because people don't understand. When we say the so-called white nation, we are talking about descendants of Esau Edom. And majority of the so-called white people are. However, due to migration, due to slavery, going into different parts of the earth, the Lord said he would scatter us, meaning the Israelites, into every part of the earth. So therefore, you're going to have some children that look like, some people that look like other nations, but are indeed Israelites. It says we will be counted as the sand of the sea. All right. So there are going to be a lot of so-called white people that are actually Israelites. So it's not about your skin color. But through the spirit, we can tell if you're an Edomite. Okay. So you Israelites are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Okay. But even some Israelites, like I said, Israelites may look like other nations, but there are some, we call them chocolate-covered Edomites, which are the tares. There are some so-called black people who are descendants of Esau Edom. A lot of them were the offspring of maybe a master, a Edomite. He was raping a woman in slavery, and now they became the house Negroes. You know, and so through the course of time, now you have this group of so-called black-looking Edomites. Now they're no longer their nationality is now under Esau. All right, so, but this list that she provides is a huge summary of what we always try to tell the world about the so-called white nation. And this goes up if you add a lot of Amalek, which are the so-called JEWs, to the equation. So I know a lot of this is left out. All right. And so she did cite a source. So this is basically a FED. I'm not going to say the word. It's a FED website. All right. And I'll put it on there. And she said, know your data. And the website is cde.ucr.cjis.gov. All right. So it's a site dedicated to these facts. It ain't like she just made it up. All right, so let me read it here. It says, despite making up only 28% of the United States of America's population, the FED's data show that white men, right, so-called white men, which are Edomites, are 55% of children takers, all right, 50%, 56% of grapists, 58% of mass pew-pewers, pew-pew. Y'all know what I'm saying? I'm trying not to say these words. 59% of, they got the adult entertainment industry, but little ones, right? The ones who watch little ones, right? And they get arrested. Hey, they show that, what's that damn movie? Oh, man. It's a movie where they show that the wickedness of what Esau for that industry as far as the little ones. Oh my God, if I can remember that, I'm gonna get that. But it says 62% of statutory rapists, which are PDA files, 63% of prostitution solicitors, 68% of 1934 NFA offenders. That's, I looked it up. It's essentially like breaking gun rights. Let me see. I looked it up and get y'all exact definition here. It says 1934 NFA. That's the National Firearms Act of 1934. It is a federal law that imposes taxes on the manufacture and transfer of certain firearms and requires their registration with the federal government. Created in response to organized crime during the Prohibition era, the NFA regulates weapons such as machine guns, short barrel rifles, and shotguns, suppressors, and any other weapon. So, essentially, it's dealing with arms. Okay, so, and then the last one says 75% of perpetrators that deal with their family members. All right, so all of these are above 50%. So, and they only make up 28% of America's population. All right, this is what we tell y'all. He's the man of sin. All right, these are above 58%. These are heinous crimes. All the black people, they steal cars. All the black people, they're doing black on black crime. Those are now our people are wicked for that. That we will always admit. You Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we supposed to follow the laws of the Bible. And it says, thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not kill, which kill goes into murder. So you're not supposed to be doing those things, 100%. But the thing is, they try to criminalize and demonize our people and make it seem like we're the worst, when our people are the ones locked up in holes and put in prison houses. But these people are making a majority of the crimes here in America, yet we get the fall back for it. You see this? This is how America is structured. Okay, now let me get some precepts here. This is the first one that came to my mind. This is Job 30:1. It says, but now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to set with the dogs of my flock. All right, and I'm probably going to read majority of like 8 or 9 verses. It says, those that are younger than I now have me in derision. All right, who dogs I will not disdain to set with the dogs of my flock. So essentially what our forefather Job is saying, which Job is alive again now, but this is going into how he's not even gonna put them with his dogs. He wouldn't even trust them around his animals. Okay, he wouldn't even trust him around his dogs. This is the mentality that's coming with this man, right? Right? This is the mentality that he's letting you know. He's like, I'm not even going to put them with my dogs, man. I would have disdained. He looking at NLT, it says, but now I am mocked by people younger than I. Right? Really younger than I is going to like people that hit the people that are surrounding him. Right? It says, by young men whose fathers are not worthy to run with my sheepdogs. And Job had great substance. So, and we say he lived in the land of Uz. Job was in a very wealthy environment. All right, through the spirit. You know what I'm saying? He had much substance. He had a lot of land. He had a lot of cattle. He had a lot of sheep. He had a big family. And the Lord took all those things away. But he said, I wouldn't even let them come around my sheepdogs, whose fathers are not worthy to run with my sheepdogs. So. And really, he's saying disdain because sometimes the NLT doesn't quite pick up on the dramatics of the verse. He's basically saying, not just saying they're not worthy. These people I'm too disgusted by them. All right? Let me see here. I'm too disgusted by them to even let them come around my animals. It says, when you go into that word disdain, the word there is ma'as. And it says to reject, despise, to refuse. He's basically, it says to become loathsome and abhor, right? He's like, I refuse to let them come around my animals, right? And so something that wasn't on that list was allegations with animals. We know the bestiality chart is through the roof dealing with Esau, Edom, but that's not something that people can always necessarily calculate because it's not something that people see. It's not counted as arrest because they do it in the privacy of their home, which is sick too, man. All right. But the Lord is going to destroy all those who doing that. Let me see here. It says, yea, verse 2, yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished. Hey, this is funny because we were talking about this at camp. In the NLT, it says, a lot of good they are to me, those worn out wretches. See, we asked the guy at camp, we said, it was a so-called black man. He probably was a Judite. We said, sir, name me one thing that the so-called white nation has done for the world. He was stumbling and bumbling and couldn't figure out nothing. You know what eventually he said? He said, well, they stole. I said, so you telling me we asked you to define one good characteristic of a person or a group of people, and you tell us something negative? That lets us know everything we need to know about this man. That dude was a coon. He loved Esau. But the one thing about them that you found about them was that they some thieves, which we would agree with 100%. And that's the thing. They'll call us thieves for selling. Jake stole a damn Gucci bag, and he'll go to jail for it. But Esau is stealing countries. Esau is stealing minerals and resources. Esau is stealing homes. Esau is stealing heritages. He's out here telling people that he's us. But we're the thieves? Come on, man. It says, for want and famine, they were sought. They still stealing heritage. Every TV movie that come out, they're the last samurai. They're the gods of Egypt. The groups of people that are clearly under other people's melanated people, and they go and they try to hijack their heritage. That's a true thief. All right, but it says, for want and famine, they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness, and former time desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. Right, so these were savages. These Edomites, they were savages living in the deserts and the wastelands and the caves, right? Just eating whatever they can get their hands on, man. All right, it says they were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief. I was watching that started that movie. I ain't a big horror person for y'all, but that's not that I'm afraid of it. I just don't like welcoming unnecessary demonic spirits into my life. You know what I'm saying? We got enough demons, so I try to avoid them. But every now and then I'll catch them depending on how interested I am. But this one not necessarily straight up horror. But 28 days later, I was watching the beginning of that. Gabar and his wife was telling me about it, and so they got one of the opening scenes, like in the first 15 minutes. There's a zombie that comes out and it's crawling, and that looks like an Edomite. He was obese. He had no clothes on. His facial hair wasn't growing. Esau be hairy, but he was a zombie is supposed to eat human consumption. It stuck his face to the ground and ate a worm like a savage and just gobbled the worm up. And I'm like, that's an Edomite, man. You know what I'm saying? In its true form. If he was hairy, it would have been over, man. That was a true Edomite. You see what I'm saying? Just face first. He is a zombie, of course, in a movie, but that's how Esau is in real life. And Esau's going to return to that, not even before the kingdom. Wait until Jacob's trouble coming. You're going to see Edomites out here doing some real Edomite things. But it says, they cried after them as after thieves. See that? That's the spirit. It says there in the NLT, it says they are driven from human society and people shout at them as if they were thieves. This is talking about a group of people, y'all. So this during you had the Renaissance period came after this when they were rebuilding and trying to be that from that deadly wound. When they were cast into these different hills and caves and dwelling places, right? They were savages. We taught them how to wash themselves. We taught them how to eat. You had an Edomite woman basically saying how she didn't know she had to use a towel. This is a week ago I saw this. How she didn't know she had to use towels to wash her body in the shower. So they still do this. Sometimes that's what he said. White people smell like sulfur and death when you really smell them. I ain't never walked past a straight up. It was some Edomite women do, right? But I ain't never walked past an Edomite male and be like, "Yo, that dude smells." That's and I ain't saying I'll be walking past dudes trying to get a smell, but if I like good smells. I hate bad smells. That's really more what it is. I hate bad smells, so I enjoy good pleasant smells. So I ain't never walked past an Edomite male like, "Hey, that dude smells nice." Never. But the Edomite women might do it because they'll get like the little Bath and Body Works mist sprays and spray themselves over it. But that's because they probably know they stink and they just want to cover it up, or they've been smoking cigarettes or something like that. But it says, so we were just talking about them being thieves. It says they chased after them with thieves because of somebody. Think about it, that's the main time when somebody will chase you, right? If somebody snatches like your woman's purse, right? You gonna try to give that little burst of energy to go and try to catch them so you can get that purse back. Now at the end of the day, shit is carnal and material. You know what I'm saying? So don't be stupid out here and get set up. People like that will do something to set you up and come around the corner and they got guns in your face. So some shit you do gotta let go. But the point is, a thief, somebody try to chase you to steal back, especially if it's something really important, right? So, but Esau, they said they chased after them as thieves because they're the real thieves of the earth. It says to dwell in the caves of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks. So that's where they live in, the caves, among the rocks, Caucasus Mountains, Mount Petra, right? Petra. It says among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. All right. In NLT, it says the braid is out there being animalistic, beast-like. It says they sound like animals howling among the bushes. Ow, ow, ow. They out there talking and they didn't know how to speak well. They acting like beasts, making grunts and noises, doing all kinds of stuff. They beasts, man. And they're going to return to that. These are the people that are ruling the earth right now. It's just they give you the idea that they've been civilized. All right. But these are the true criminals of the world, man. It says they were, and this is the point. It says they were children of fools. Yea, children of base men, they were viler than the earth. You see, in the NLT, it says these are nameless fools, outcasts from society. It really, I wanted to get, it says children of base men. These people are the viler than the earth. They are the basis of men. They are the lowest that you can get. He's talking about the so-called white nation. When you understand the Bible, he didn't have to say white people. All right, when you understand the Bible and the wicked, right? The wicked are thy sword. When you understand Esau and Edom, when you understand who's running the earth, you understand that he's talking about the so-called white nation. Nobody else really fits this description. The other nations really be through, but nobody else fits this. The basis of men, viler than the earth, right? These people are wicked, man. All right? And that's what people don't understand about the Edomites, man. But as soon, lo and behold, they gonna see. They gonna see, man, that this dude ain't your friend. He's really a devil. This is the stats prove it. Now you got the stats to prove what we be saying to y'all. Yeah, you got stats to prove it. You got track records. You got the history that he's done to us and every other group of people on earth. You go to other countries, they hate when Edomites come in there because they know they're just coming to take and pillage. All right. This is Psalm 73:1. It says, the Most High, truly the Most High is good to Israel, even to such as are a clean heart. But as for me, my feet were almost gone. My steps had well nigh slipped. For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Right? So that's the thing. You'll see the prosperity of the wicked. You'll be like, well, they can't be doing this stuff. Right? They look so nice. They got nice cars. They got nice clothes. So you think that they got it together. But really, we're not supposed to envy that. But, when you look at it, you're like, damn, man, these people got all of this, but you're not supposed to envy what they got. Envy none of his ways, man. Envy not the oppressor, right? But sometimes you be like, God damn, man, Esau here. You get pissed off. You see Esau living. This is the base. This is the man supposed to be in a cave, and this dude's driving a goddamn Benz. Well, I can tell you this. He ain't going to be driving no chariots. I'll tell you that. You ain't going to never see an Edomite driving a chariot in the kingdom of heaven. You know, even if they're a slave, even if when we got slaves, you know, brothers gonna be picking other people, and the Edomite ain't gonna get no opportunity to drive a chariot. You know, even in Babylon, Jake get to drive Benzes and stuff like that to service, but you ain't gonna get no Edomite driver. You know, but anyway, it says, for there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. And so basically, it's making a comparison, saying they don't go through the same things that we went through, right? They don't understand what we go through. They don't get plagued like we do. When they shave their beards off, the Lord doesn't give them razor bumps all over their face. But we do. It's because that law is meant for us to be manly and masculine and have a beard on our face. When we eat pork, we get high cholesterol, diabetes, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, right? But that don't happen to them in the same facet. Now, that don't mean they can't be unhealthy and still get jacked up, health-related things, but they don't get plagued and judged like we do. So they are not in trouble like us because they're not under the same code as we are. But soon, when our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, returns, he's going to subject them to the law, statute, commandments of his Father. All right. And so they are going to be in trouble as on the men. The scriptures talk about how the curses are going to begin to fall upon our enemies and are going to be taken off of us. Psalm 73:6, it says, therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain. Violence covereth them as a garment. See, that's just who they are. That's a part of their character, right? When you put on your chain and you put on clothes, you say you should know a man by his attire. So that's supposed to say something about you when you wear certain clothing. All right. So it says pride and violence are his clothing. So he's full of pride. That's what we got, so-called white pride. Even though they've been the wicked of the earth, they still out here blaming us and trying to be wicked and being violent. Well, if you rule the earth, why be violent? But see, this reminds me of, it says in the book of Timothy, it says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And it says, many have drowned in perdition and destruction. Right? When you get more riches, ultimately, you start doing more wicked things. Right? If it's not led with righteousness, you start doing more. So he got more money. He started ruling the earth. He started doing more demonic stuff. And, my boy Radolf Schmittler, the mustache man, shall we call him, he was exposing Amalek. That's why they wanted to hush that history. He was exposing them and all of the things they were doing, man. How they were robbing and stealing and taking everything from people and destroying Europe. Man, I did a video on it. I've been listening to a lot of the new AIs they got with his voice in English, and man, he was going in on Amalek. He was letting the world know about him. He said, even in my death, even though the Lord is the one who's sparking World War III, but he said, even in my death, my words will start World War III. They're the least of the flock. And so a lot of people are waking up to the fact of stuff that the mustache man was saying, and he was on point with a lot of things, and he had a lot of valuable things to say. I'm not telling y'all like he's the best guy in the world or nothing like that, but he knew he had the right agenda to take out Amalek. And that happened in the Bible. Saul was supposed to take out Amalek, and he didn't. So the Lord sent Radolf Schmittler the mustache man, to put in that work on Amalek. But, ultimately it's going to be up to the children of Israel to complete the job. That's going to have to be the will of Yahweh Shema Shah for the elect of the Israelites to complete the job and finally take them out. Right. But verse 7 says, their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than the heart could wish. So they just want to take and take. They'll be sitting in a house with barrels of gold in the basement. They'll be like, oh, new gold and oil found in Ethiopia. Let's go take it. They got more than heart could wish. If you got that much gold in your basement, you set for life. But they like, nah, they got more than the heart could wish. Their eyes stand out with fatness. You need more. The destruction of more, y'all. It can destroy you. Right? You always want more no matter how much you have. Hey, J. Cole said it best, love yours. Now, it's always good to have something a little better and stuff like that, but you essentially got to love and be content with the thing you have, man. That's in that same Timothy chapter. But it says drowning men in destruction and perdition, man. Right? But it says they are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. Who is this talking about? What people are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression? Right? What people do that? The so-called white man, he's like, I don't give a damn. He's like, you in America now, y'all free. You ain't slaves no more. You can do whatever you want. Your people aren't under being in slavery anymore. But as much as you saying our people are benefiting off society, y'all are still benefiting off cotton money to this very day. That's what they don't realize. If your parents got businesses, islands, houses, land, all of that's from you benefiting off of slavery. And all of our people are in ghettos and off food stamps and all of this stuff and EBT and SNAP because of the downtrodden things that happen to our people. If you don't think that echoed throughout the ages of time and centuries, then you're just foolish and you don't understand how oppression works. But they'll be like, get yourself up by the bootstraps, get a good job. They even had a lady come out and say, black men, white felons are more likely to be hired than black men in America. That's crazy, man. So you can't tell me that's not a byproduct of slavery and institutionalization and racism. You can't tell me that, right? Now, I'm a firm believer in, hey, don't be making no complaints and get your ass up and put in that work and do what you got to do and handle business. I'm a firm believer in that. However, if we were set on they show that example of like a white man and a black man on a racing track, but the white man just gets to take off and run. But the black man had hurdles in front of him. He had a pit that he had to go through. It was animals in the way. He had a chain on his leg. You see what I'm saying? So we're not running the same race, bro. We're not running the same race. And you're foolish if you think we are. But these crime families, they try to blame this stuff on us. And see, they speak wickedly concerning oppression, right? You black people lazy. Y'all don't do nothing. You know, you don't get a job. You know, you're broke. You don't have nothing. You in the ghetto. They say all of these things. You in a reservation. You in a barrio. You know, they got nothing going for themselves. You bums. We built this whole country, but you calling us bums. It's crazy, man. This is a devil for you. This is a devil. They speak loftily. So now they speak pride with pride. They speak like they got it all going. I heard an Edomite say, talking to Myron of Fresh and Fit, he said, so-called white men built this country. And Myron was like, I don't think those black girls over there like what you're saying. Y'all didn't build nothing. Just because you enslave people and tell them to do something, it don't mean that you physically built it. But that's okay. Y'all gonna build up our kingdom of heaven, and we're gonna say we built the kingdom of heaven. Even though we are gonna truly build our infrastructure, we're gonna label it the way we want to, but we're gonna have a so-called white people labor force that are gonna be our slaves for 1,000 years. And yes, we're going to speak loftily concerning oppression. We ain't going to give a damn about y'all situation, right? The Lord's going to put that spirit on us to do this, to do double fold, to do twofold of the judgment that y'all did to us, man. All right. It says they set their mouth against the heavens and their tongue walked through the earth. And the crazy thing about their pride is they talk shit about the Most High. You see? They say, I by my power, I did this. I set up America. I put myself in the seat of the Most High. I am God. I don't need God. I can do it on my own. That's how they act, right? So the Lord's going to take them out, man, right? You know, and I thought about Psalms 58. So this is talking about the so-called white man in this article. I mean, this posting that she put. But they didn't include so-called white women, and they didn't include so-called white children either. I'm sure those are stats too. So-called white women have done a lot of crimes, y'all. A lot of sneaky, filthy, nasty stuff. Shit, Karen by herself is good enough for crimes. The shit that she's doing, incriminating people and falsely accusing. The scriptures talk about making a false accusation on people. And they do that all the time, you know. But it says, Psalms 58, how they are estranged from the womb as soon as they be born, speaking lies. So when you see a Karen out here, don't think that it's far-fetched. The Lord told you don't trust so-called white people. He told you that in the Bible, man. It's up to you if you ain't going to listen to him. Actually, it's in the same chapter, 2 verses up. So, Ecclesiastes 12 and 10, it says, never trust thine enemy. As iron rusts, so is his wickedness. But I only took a picture of verse 12 and down. It says, set him not by thee, lest when he have overthrown thee, stand up in thy place. You know, that's what he do. Hey, man, we the greatest people on earth. He slew us down and stand up and act like he's the greatest man on the earth. It says, neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. And a lot of you so-called black people gonna get pricked because y'all gonna realize that the Israelites told us about Esau, Edom. Y'all told us that they were wicked, and we didn't listen. Y'all told us about Amalek, and we didn't listen. Like that dude that camped that was mentioned at Judah. Hey, I believe through the Spirit he's gonna get tormented by Edomites because he understood that he was an Israelite. He had a Bible with him, but he could not get past loving Esau, Edom. He couldn't get past it, so he gonna get pricked there with. That's the kind of guy that is. The Lord is beautiful in his judgments. It says, who will pity a charmer that is bitten with the serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beast? So why we gonna be mad if you get bitten by Esau? You were playing with a snake. So we gonna be like, hey man, that's what you get, man. Right? It says, so one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. If you got problems, Esau gonna flee. He like, man, I ain't signed up for this. You know? It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. You saw they showed you that on sinners too. The Edomites outside coming to wreck everything. Right? It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. He gonna take everything that you got, man. Right? He speaks sweetly with his lips, but really he's just trying to destroy you. Right? Though oil and butter was in his heart was drawn swords. War was in his heart. Right? If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet he shall undermine thee, man. That's how he gets down. That's how the so-called white man gets down. He finesse you first, make you think he's his friend, and then he takes everything from you. So the same thing goes with these other countries. They'll go in and say they're doing a humanitarian thing, and they're bringing food and water to the destitute people of the land. You know, they'll go to Iran, Iraq, different parts of Africa and say they helping the people out, bringing them food and water and shelter. But really what it is, they have a vested interest there. They had a video like that. It was I forgot what it was. They were like the people out there needed help, and they was calling a lot of time, asking the Edomites coming there to aid. And Esau, it was like a movie or something. And Esau never came. But then as soon as they said they found that oil was struck, the next couple seconds, planes, we're coming in to help them. Planes coming in and delivering stuff because they now got an interest in taking something that you have that's worth more than food. All right. But this is Job 9:24. This is how you know who the wicked are. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Who covers the face of the Most High and the Messiah, who they ignorantly calls God and Jesus Christ? They made them so-called white men. We didn't do that. Right? Why are they so-called white men? Because this man is wicked. He made you think opposite of the Lord's description. It says they're a so-called black men according to the Bible, right? But this man covered the faces of the judges. All of the prophets, they make them look like so-called white men when they are indeed so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American men, right? They change history with these things, man. Amalek, the so-called JEWs, just running the earth, doing all kinds of wickedness, all kinds of evil, right? Even when they do what are they called? I don't know how I'm forgetting the name of it. I'm tripping. Forgive me. When you take the foreskin off, circumcised. They do that with their mouth to a child, man, and rip it off. A lot of the children found out getting herpes because of what they were doing with their mouths, man. That shit is demonic, man. These people are wicked. They drink blood. They murder people. They put human meat in your McDonald's, man. These people are not normal. These people are beasts. This is Psalms 36:1. It says, the transgression of the wicked saith within my heart that there is no fear of the Most High before his eyes. So he think he's not afraid of the Most High, but the Lord says, when he returns, though they are afraid, they shall they so afraid, Dursey does fight. So the Lord is going to make them afraid. He's going to make them fight because they've been acting like they fearless. It says, for he flattereth himself in his own eyes until his iniquity be found to be hateful. You see, so his sins get to the point where you just hate this dude, man. You know, so there's some sins that are worthy of death. You like some sins, are not hateful before the eyes of the Lord. Like it's bad. The Lord hate all sin. Don't get it confused. But if let's say you, for instance, you 8 years old and you steal a Snickers bar, excuse me, you steal a candy bar from the store, right? The Lord is not gonna put you to death for that. But the Lord might judge you, might jack you up, but he's going to be like, all right, I hope you learned your lesson. Don't steal anymore. Maybe you got in trouble from your parents. Don't steal anymore. But the stuff that Esau do, the depths of Satan, he make it to where his iniquity is hateful. Like you saw that list that Rebecca brought out. That stuff should be hated by all people and everybody. This should be an uproar. Why is this not on every news station? It's because they're the ones on the list. They're the ones committing the crimes, right? The KKK is now wearing judge robes and police uniforms, right? That's how they get down, man. It says, the words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. All right, the Epstein list, they all on it. That's why. The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit, sin and witchcraft and trickery. He has left off to be wise and to do good. You see, so he found out, he put off wisdom and to do good. The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. He's just trying to trick you so he can sin and do wickedness and destroy you and your family. And this is the point, he deviseth mischief upon his bed, and he setteth himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. Just like I woke up this morning and I decided, I'm like, man, I got to, I was supposed to get a lesson in last night. Let me praise Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So we devise righteousness upon our bed. Hey, it says, we shall sing praises loud upon our bed with a two-edged sword in our hand, But it said he devised mischief. He wake up and like, what can I do to a nigga today? What can I do to, especially the principalities? It said we fight against not against flesh and blood, but against principalities in high places, wickedness in high places. So the Edomites, that the so-called elites and the higher ups, they waking up. Donald Trump, they telling Donald Trump, how can we get these Hispanics deported, right? Which is the northern kingdom of Israel, part of the northern kingdom of Israel. That's what they wake up devising. He setteth himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. You should abhor evil. But that's why horror movies are through the roof. They love Halloween. They love evil. They love witchcraft. They love demons. They love satanic ideologies, Satanism. They love it. You see, so he don't abhor evil. We do, right? It says, love the good and hate the evil. That's what the scriptures say, man. I'm gonna jump down to verse 11. It says, let not the foot of pride come against me, and let not the hand of the wicked remove me. There are the workers of the iniquity fallen, they are cast down and shall not be able to rise. So the time's going to come where the Lord is just going to take them out, man. He's going to destroy them. He's going to do them by the way of the Israelites. I forgot I wanted to get these. I'll get these. This is Galatians. Oh, actually, let me get this first. This is Mark 7:21. It says, For from within, out of the heart of men proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man. So these are wicked things that men do, men think, and what men act upon. And so who's the main one doing these things? Now, our people do this too. Now, so the Lord said we supposed to put these things off. But Esau is doing them the most. Rebecca's proven that with this, man. Right? And so the main word that I wanted to look there, and Galatians 5:19 says, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness. Right? And they do all of those things, right? But we often talk about going into the word fornication. It goes into illicit sexual actions. So all of the lists that Rebecca brought out, a lot of those things were dealing with intimate nature, and they were doing wicked things with people you weren't supposed to. And we're not even going to talk about how his secret work of the LGBT community is out there, the alphabet community. We're not even going to talk about how wicked and deceitful that is. He's behind all of that. Sodom and Gomorrah. He's behind that whole thing. That whole agenda is brought up by him. Don't get it confused. They got Jake doing it to popularize it, but that's Esau Edom's agenda. All right. So I wanted to get that word lascivious, and I've been knew what this word is from years ago. When I used to work with a population of people that they would get charged with certain things. And, I never forget this one guy, he was charged with lewd and lascivious behavior. Lewdness is mentioned in the scriptures too, but I want to get that word lascivious. And it says, it goes into aselgia in the Greek. It says unbridled lust, right? So you got unbridled lust. That means you got lust and desire that you just can't control. You just don't know how to get any type of discipline and control yourself. Unbridled lust. When you have a bridle that's not on a horse, a bit, he just he neighs and shakes his head wherever he wants. No control. But when you got a bridle, a bit on him, you can maneuver his hand. That's the Lord God. Our lusts are bridled. You're not just going to do whatever you want. They dealing with little ones. They dealing with men. They're dealing with people they aren't supposed to. They're dealing with animals. They're dealing with first siblings. I forgot what the first thing I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying? Like your immediate family members, dealing with your mother, dealing with your father, dealing with your children, dealing with your sisters and brothers. That's how they getting down, unbridled. It says excess licentiousness, lasciviousness, wantonness, outrageousness, insolence, shamelessness. So they're shameless in their crimes, man. They don't give a damn. They know they run in America and they know they can get away with it. And licentiousness, ultimately, they think they got a free will to do what they want. It says, sometimes meaning other vices, filthy. You see, these people are filthy, man. All right. But America tries to paint us as the people that are doing wrong, but they're shameless in their nature, man. But now I'm gonna wrap it up with that.